Look at a satellite image of the United States at night and you'll notice something strange about the Great Plains. As you move west from the Mississippi River, the lights get sparser. Minnesota glows bright. The Dakotas flicker dimly. Then, right around the 100th meridian, an invisible line running through the middle of North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and Kansas, the lights almost disappear entirely. North Dakota is the 19th largest state in America, 70,000 square miles of land, bigger than New England, and yet it has only 800,000 people. That's fewer people than Jacksonville, Florida. South Dakota has even fewer, just 900,000. Together, the two Dakotas cover 147,000 square miles with only 1.7 million people. By comparison, New Jersey, the most densely populated state, packs 9.3 million people into just 8,700 square miles. But here is what makes North Dakota truly strange. It is not growing, it is shrinking. North Dakota's population peaked in the 1930s at around 680,000 people. Then the Dust Bowl hit, the Great Depression crushed the farm economy, and people left. They never came back. For 90 years, North Dakota has been losing people, slowly, steadily, inexorably. Even during the oil boom of the 2000s and the 2010s, when billions of dollars flooded into the Bakken oil fields, the state's population only briefly spiked before falling again. Today, 20% of North Dakota's entire population lives in one city, Fargo, on the far eastern edge of the state, right on the Minnesota border. The rest of the state is mostly empty. Counties like Slope County in the southwest have just 706 people spread across 1,200 square miles. That is 0.6 people per square mile. You could fit the entire population of Slope County into a single high school gymnasium. So why is North Dakota so empty? Why did the population collapse and never recover? Why does Fargo keep growing while the rest of the state fades? The answer is not economics or politics. The answer is geography. Specifically, it is the 100th meridian, the invisible line that has divided America into wet and dry, populated and empty, thriving and dying since the first settlers arrived, and nowhere is that divide more brutal than in North Dakota. The 100th meridian is one of the most important geographic features in North America, and most Americans have never heard of it. It is not a river or a mountain range, it is a longitude line, 100 degrees west of Greenwich, England. It runs from the Canadian border down through the middle of North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, and into Texas. And it marks the point where the climate fundamentally changes. East of the 100th meridian, you get enough rainfall to support traditional agriculture. The air masses coming off the Gulf of Mexico bring moisture inland. Annual rainfall averages 20 to 40 inches. You can grow corn, soybeans, and wheat without irrigation. Rivers flow year-round, trees grow naturally, settlement is easy. West of the 100th meridian, the rainfall drops off a cliff. Annual precipitation falls to 15 inches or less. The air is dry, the land is semi-arid, you cannot farm without irrigation, and there is not enough water for large-scale irrigation. The native vegetation is not forest, it is short grass prairie. The only plants that survive are grasses adapted to drought. For most of American history, this land was considered unfit for settlement. It was called the Great American Desert. North Dakota straddles the 100th meridian. The eastern part of the state, where Fargo sits, gets about 20 inches of rain per year. It is just barely enough for agriculture. The western part of the state gets 13 to 15 inches. That is marginal at best. And here's the twist that makes North Dakota even harsher than Kansas or Nebraska. The growing season is shorter, much shorter. Kansas, farther south, has about 180 frost-free days per year. North Dakota has only 120 days, sometimes fewer. That's 4 months. 4 months where the ground is not frozen, where you can plant and harvest. The first frost can come in early September. The last frost can linger into late May. If you plant wheat and it does not mature before the first freeze, you lose the entire crop. There is no margin for error. And then there is the cold. North Dakota is not just cold in winter, it is Arctic. January temperatures in Bismarck average 13 degrees Fahrenheit. In the northwest, near the Canadian border, it is colder. The record low in Parshall, North Dakota is minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit. At those temperatures, machinery breaks, pipes burst, livestock die. Human survival depends on heating fuel, insulation, and modern infrastructure. Before the 20th century, settlers froze to death with disturbing regularity. On top of that, North Dakota has no natural advantages, it has no navigable rivers. The Missouri River runs through the state, but it is shallow, seasonal, and flows north into Canada before turning south, and it does not connect North Dakota to markets. There are no natural harbors, no strategic position, no geographic reason for cities to form. The land is flat, windswept, and isolated. It is as far from major American markets as you can get without leaving the country. Geography made North Dakota harsh, but history made it empty. In the 1870s, the Great Northern Railway pushed west across Minnesota and into Dakota Territory. The railroad companies needed settlers to buy land and generate freight revenue, so they launched massive advertising campaigns in Europe. They promised cheap land, fertile soil, and a new start in America. Thousands came, mostly Norwegians, Germans, and Swedes, people accustomed to cold climates and hard farming. They established what were called bonanza farms, massive wheat operations covering thousands of acres. These were not family farms, they were industrial agriculture. Investors from the East Coast bought huge tracts of land, hired laborers, and planted wheat as far as the eye could see. The soil was rich, untouched prairie top soil, deep and black. The first harvests were incredible. Wheat yields were among the highest in the world. Money poured in. Towns sprang up along the rail lines. By 1890, North Dakota's population had exploded to over 190,000. Then came a second wave. After the Russian Revolution in 1917 and the subsequent Civil War, thousands of Germans from Russia, ethnic Germans who had been living in Ukraine and southern Russia, fled to North Dakota. They brought with them a tradition of wheat farming in harsh climates. They were used to the cold, the isolation, the short growing season. They settled in the central and western counties, establishing tight-knit communities centered on Lutheran churches. By 1920, North Dakota's population had reached 646,000. In just 30 years, the state had gone from frontier wilderness to settled farmland. It looked like the Great Plains could be tamed. It looked like the 100th meridian did not matter. Then the 1930s hit, and the illusion shattered. The Dust Bowl did not start in North Dakota, but it devastated the state. Years of overfarming had destroyed the prairie topsoil. Drought began in 1930 and did not let up. The soil, no longer held by deep-rooted prairie grasses, turned to dust. Windstorms carried it away in massive black clouds. Crops failed. Wells ran dry. Farmers went bankrupt. And the Great Depression made everything worse. Wheat prices collapsed, banks failed, and foreclosures swept across the plains. People left, not just a few people, entire communities. Between 1930 and 1940, North Dakota lost 40,000 people. Between 1950 and 1960, it lost another 30,000. The exodus continued, decade after decade. By 1970, the population had dropped to 618,000, below the 1920 peak. It has never recovered. And here is the key. The depopulation was not random. The counties east of the 100th meridian, the wetter, slightly more forgiving areas, stabilized. Fargo kept growing, Grand Forks held steady, but the western counties collapsed. Towns that had 500 people in 1930 had 50 people by 1980. One-room schoolhouses closed by the hundreds. Between 1929 and 1954 alone, 1,889 one-room schools in North Dakota shut down. Churches closed. Post offices closed. Entire towns were abandoned. Why didn't people come back? Why didn't the population rebound after the Dust Bowl ended? Because farming changed. Mechanization meant you needed fewer people to farm the same amount of land. Tractors, combines, and GPS-guided equipment reduced labor needs. In 1920, a family farm might employ 10 people. By 1980, one person with a combine could do the same work. Farms got bigger, families got smaller, young people left for college and never returned. The land was still producing. North Dakota is still one of the top wheat-producing states in America. But it does not need people anymore. The wheat grows, the machines harvest it, and the grain is shipped out. The land is profitable, but empty. In the early 2000s, something strange happened in North Dakota, the Bakken oil boom. Geologists had known for decades that there was oil under western North Dakota, but it was locked in shale rock and too expensive to extract. Then hydraulic fracturing, called fracking, made it profitable. Oil companies flooded into the Williston area in the northwest corner of the state. Overnight, a sleepy town of 12,000 people exploded to over 30,000. Workers poured in from across the country, living in RVS, man camps, and hastily built apartments. Williston had traffic jams, housing shortages, and million-dollar homes. North Dakota's unemployment rate dropped to the lowest in the nation, below 3%. The state's economy boomed. For the first time in 80 years, the population was growing. Politicians and economists declared that North Dakota was back. The resource curse was broken. Then oil prices crashed in 2014. Fracking became unprofitable. The rigs shut down and the workers left. By 2016, Williston had lost one-third of its population. The fancy apartments sat empty. The RV parks were abandoned. The boom turned to bust, just like the wheat boom a century earlier. North Dakota's population growth stalled. The state was back where it started, slowly emptying. The only place in North Dakota that is consistently growing is Fargo. And Fargo is growing for one reason: it is not really part of the Great Plains. It sits right on the Red River, on the border with Minnesota. It is connected to the Midwest economy. It has a university, North Dakota State University, that brings in students and creates white-collar jobs. It has healthcare, finance, technology companies. It is a modern, diversified economy. The rest of North Dakota is DYing. Western counties are apocalyptically empty. Slope County, Billings County, Golden Valley County, these places have populations in the hundreds. Some counties have only 2 or 3 incorporated towns. The rest is ranch land, wheat fields, and abandoned homesteads. Drive through western North Dakota today and you will see the wreckage of the American frontier dream. Farmhouses with caved-in roofs, grain elevators standing alone beside empty railroad sidings, towns with 1 bar, 1 gas station, and a population of 47. The wind howls across the prairie, the same wind that has always howled, indifferent to human ambition. And it is not just the old who are leaving. North Dakota has one of the worst rates of youth outmigration in the country. If you are 18 years old, graduating from high school in a town like Beach or Medora in the western part of the state, your options are stark. You can stay and work on a ranch, in a gas station, or in one of the few remaining small businesses. Or you can leave. Go to Fargo, go to Minneapolis, go anywhere with jobs, culture, and a future. Almost everyone leaves. North Dakota State University and the University of North Dakota educate thousands of students every year, and the majority leave the state after graduation. The brain drain is relentless. The median age in rural North Dakota is rising, now over 40 in many counties. These are places where deaths outnumber births, where schools consolidate because there are not enough children, where the only new residents are retirees moving back after careers elsewhere. There is one exception: refugees. Fargo has become a resettlement hub for refugees from around the world: Somalis, Bhutanese, Iraqis, Syrians. Lutheran Social Services has resettled thousands of refugees in Fargo over the past 2 decades. These refugees are now the primary source of population growth in the city. Without them, even Fargo would be stagnating. But refugees are not moving to Slope County or Billings County. They are moving to Fargo, the one city that is connected, diverse, and economically viable. The rest of North Dakota might as well not exist for them. Here is the tragic irony of North Dakota. The land is still productive. The state produces billions of dollars worth of wheat, barley, soybeans, and oil every year. The economy, on paper, is strong. Unemployment is low. Wages for farm work and oil jobs are high. But the land does not need people anymore. Modern agriculture is so mechanized that you can farm 5,000 acres with 3 people. Oil extraction is automated. The wealth flows out to shareholders in New York, investors in Texas, agribusiness corporations in California. The people who live in North Dakota see some of the money, but not enough to build sustainable communities. The towns are still dying. Imagine you are 22 years old, raised in Bowman, a town of 1,600 in the southwest corner of North Dakota. You went to Bowman County High School. Your parents farm wheat or work in the oil fields. You have a community college degree. Now what? You can stay in Bowman and work at the grocery store, the hardware store, or the bank. You will make $14 an hour. There are no young people, no nightlife, no arts, culture, or opportunities for advancement. The nearest city of any size, Bismarck, is 130 miles away. Or you can leave, move to Fargo, where there are white-collar jobs, restaurants, concerts, and people your age, or move to Minneapolis, Denver, or Seattle. Almost everyone leaves, and so Bowman, like hundreds of small towns across the Great Plains, slowly empties. The high school that once had 300 students now has 100. The Main Street businesses close. The young leave, the old age, and eventually the town fades. This is the future of the Great Plains. Not catastrophic collapse, but slow, quiet disappearance. The 100th meridian still rules. The land west of that invisible line is too dry, too cold, too isolated to support dense human populations. The brief window from 1880 to 1930, when it seemed like the Great Plains could be filled, was an anomaly, driven by railroads, immigration, and the illusion that the land was limitless. The land was not limitless. The soil was fragile. The water was scarce. The climate was brutal. And when the illusion broke in the 1930s, people left. They are still leaving. North Dakota will survive. Fargo will keep growing, connected to the broader Midwest economy. The wheat will keep growing, harvested by machines. The oil will keep flowing, extracted by rigs operated by skeleton crews. But the people, they are gone, and they are not coming back. The Great Plains are emptying. The 100th meridian is reasserting itself after a century of human defiance. Geography, in the end, always wins. And the wide open spaces, beautiful, silent, and haunting, are reclaiming what was always theirs.